Good morning, and I'm really pleased to be here, and I congratulate UNFPA for convening this forum and presenting this critical evidence for us. As we all know, and we've said ad nauseum, perhaps, Sri Lanka stands at a pivotal moment. We are rebuilding after a crisis while navigating many demographic changes, an aging population, declining fertility, outward migration, and as well as the growing realities of climate risk and rapid digital transition. In such a context, old approaches will not deliver on inclusive growth. We really have to focus on unlocking the potential of all of our citizens, beginning with women and girls. As I have often said, gender equality is not a women's issue. It is a societal imperative rooted in democracy itself. Every woman and child should live with dignity, be safe, and be able to participate fully in our nation's life. When this is achieved, the whole country advances. We are all the better for it. I speak not only as Prime Minister, but as a woman who has worked in academia, activism, and politics. I know that opportunities are not always equal and standards are not always applied fairly. Yet, every time a woman breaks through barriers, families grow stronger, businesses thrive, communities prosper, and nations grow. That is the gender dividend in real human terms. For the government, the gender dividend means recognizing, and I should say valuing, women's unpaid contributions and treating their participation as central to labor supply, productivity, revenues, innovation, and resilience. This is why we need to move from aspirations to law and from law and policy to action. As Mr. Adeniye also mentioned, Sri Lanka is not short of policies and laws. But what needs to happen has always been and continues to be a challenge, is the better coordination and ensuring that the pieces fit together in a way that makes sense for people and for communities. This is, I think, an area where we really need to focus on, because policy development and even legislative development has happened over the years. But whether we have invested as much in ensuring our institutional capacity and our human capacity to actually deliver on those policies and laws is, I think, somewhere where we really need to work harder. For instance, caregiving is not just a women's issue. It is an economic and policy priority. So recognizing the interconnections and the intersectionality of all of these issues is what makes it possible for us to actually ensure that these policies and laws get implemented and improve people's lives. Enabling women to balance work and caregiving, not that I think that balance is ever possible, but at least recognizing that that's something that women and girls have to deal with on a daily basis is essential for national progress. Closing gender gaps would increase Sri Lanka's GDP. This is not only a social goal, but an economic strategy that strengthens family well-being and national development. Participation in the economy must be matched by participation in public life. Women's political representation has improved with 25% local government quota and more women in parliament than ever before, a level of elected participation we have not seen until now. Equally important, we must acknowledge and celebrate the countless grassroots women who are for the first time on this scale actively engaging in politics, from organizing communities to campaigning and advocating for change. Yet, barriers remain. Party gatekeeping, financial exclusion, time poverty from unpaid care work, discrimination in law and practice, and violence, including online abuse. These frictions, these tensions must be addressed, and I hope today's research evidence will guide state institutions in sequencing, prioritizing, budgeting, and delivering effective solutions. Please allow me to highlight 6 priorities where today's findings can guide us. First, the National Policy on Gender Equality and Women's Empowerment sets the framework for action, and the Women's Empowerment Act number 37 of 2024 establishes the National Commission on Women, which hopefully will get going very soon, and complaint mechanisms ensuring that rights are not just words but enforceable. Political pathways, legal reform, care, digital safety, and climate resilience are exactly what this Commission must prioritize. Secondly, safety and dignity are non-negotiable. The multi-sectoral National Action Plan to address SGBV 2024-28 is underway across 13 sectors. The findings on technology-facilitated GBV point us to practical steps: standardized survivor-centered protocols across police, health, social services, and education, clarify reporting and response times, and ensure accessibility in Sinhala, Tamil, and English so that no woman is forced to relive trauma to be believed. Thirdly, the care economy must move from footnote to design principle. Time use evidence confirms what families already know. Women's time sustains the economy, and when care is invisible, progress stalls. The Economic Transformation Act sets measurable targets for female labor force participation, giving Treasury and line ministries a clear mandate to budget for childcare, elder care, and workplace flexibility as infrastructure for jobs and productivity. But we also need to understand that concepts such as these, especially workplace flexibility, can often be class biased, and not all women will be able to access these services in the same way that policymakers imagine. Our submissions to CEDAW also acknowledge the need to professionalize the care workforce. As the new National Social Protection Policy is rolled out, we will align care services, training, and financing so that recognition of unpaid care work is matched with practical relief and pathways into paid quality care work. Today's findings will help us integrate this into standard measurements and identify catalytic models to pilot. Fourth, the law must work for people. The Women's Empowerment Act is a bridge, but gaps persist across family, labor, and procedural law. The discrimination study presented today offers a clear agenda for the Law Reform Commission, the Women's Caucus, and the new Commission to pursue, closing loopholes, simplifying redress, and ensuring that rights travel from the statute book to the police desk, the clinic, the hospital, the courtroom, and the workplace, and even the family. I think this is where we've often failed. We know we've had a Domestic Violence Act now for many years, but we really need to review whether those procedures, how useful those procedures have been, and whether simply reform in the statute book or in law in and of itself can effect the kinds of changes we desire. Fifth, climate action that does not reach women is unfinished work. The NDC Implementation Plan 2021-2030 embeds gender integration and social inclusion, and the ongoing update of the National Adaptation Plan will deepen this. We know where reach fails: assets, finance, extension, and early warning, and therefore where climate finance must be targeted if resilience and livelihoods are to rise together. Sector plans will be aligned with the NDC's gender guidance so that women farmers, fishers, MSME owners, and coastal communities can adapt and thrive. Sixth, as we build an ambitious, or we hope to build an ambitious digital economy by 2030, inclusion and safety must be part of the blueprint, not added later. The National Digital Economy Strategy 2030 outlines how digital can power growth, services, and jobs. Standards with platforms, regulators, schools, and employers must include digital citizenship in curricula, reporting channels that work, and space for women to lead in innovation. As I said on International Women's Day, Sri Lanka needs a free environment where women can lead, contribute, and innovate. That is how we build a knowledge economy. Tying these threads together is our first national social protection policy with its life cycle approach. The forthcoming National Social Protection Strategy gives us the opportunity to integrate today's evidence directly into delivery systems that build resilience, not fragmentation. So a woman can take a job because childcare is affordable. So a farmer can withstand a climate shock because insurance and credit are within reach. So a worker can reskill without falling through the cracks. We must also be honest. Progress always encounters resistance, as we know well. As women move into jobs, leadership, and voice, backlash follows, as many of you here in this room have experienced. Online harassment, bureaucratic inertia, or nostalgia for how things were. These are things that we deal with on a daily basis. My conviction is clear. No woman is safe until every woman is safe. The way forward is not outrage alone, but transparency, standards, and coalitions strong enough to outlast the resistance. That means publishing indicators, funding what works, and correcting what does not, openly, so that the country can see. Let me close with this. A nation in transition cannot afford to waste its resources. We have already committed in law, in policy, and on international platforms to raising women's participation in politics and the labor force, and to recognizing and redistributing unpaid care work. These are not promises we can walk back from. And we do not begin from nothing. Generations of Sri Lankan feminist movements and women's rights activists have paved the way for the progress we speak of today. We stand on shoulders of many giants. They have challenged discriminatory laws, pushed for quotas, fought for labor rights, and insisted that gender-based violence must be named and addressed. Their courage and persistence reminds us that the gains we inherit are not gifts, they are victories won through struggle. And this is a lesson that we must pass on to future generations, that the struggle has not ended and that the work must continue. Our responsibility is to carry this struggle forward, not in isolation, but in partnership with civil society, academia, and grassroots women who continue to demand systemic change. I have met women who rebuilt after war, floods, death, and loss. They did not wait for permission. They organized, taught, traded, and healed. They remind us every day that the insistence on equality is itself an act of care for the nation. On International Women's Day, I said we would not postpone equality. Today I say this: we will prioritize equality by what we fund, what we measure, and what we publish. When women are safe, when care is visible, when laws are usable, when climate finance reaches the farmer, when a girl logs on and learns without fear, Sri Lanka will not only be fairer, it will be stronger, smarter, and more resilient. Thank you very much.